Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook along with Darren Frye, Water Street Solutions. Well, grains, we set back and corn and soybeans mixed in the wheat, cotton to the plus side, as well as the hogs, but cattle set back here today. And Darren, let's talk about soybeans first of all. The pullback, was it profit taking because we're into the month, or was there any change in the weather forecast, or what was going on today?
I think it was profit taking, some technical selling ahead of this 3-day weekend, and also the fact that probably there's a little bit more rain in the forecast. Nothing general, but just some pop-up stuff. No question we're going to be drier and warmer as we enter next week, but any moisture ahead of that would certainly help these late filling soybeans and late filling corn plants. So I think that's what you got into, is a little bit of a down market here today. We'll see if we pop back tomorrow and into Friday.
Yeah, so technically we kind of rejected that $14 mark in the November beans again too, didn't we?
Yeah, we certainly did. We need to close over that. We haven't been able to really close convincingly above 14. I'd like to see it close above 14.09. I think once we do that, it'll clear the way for higher prices. But first, we have to close above that level.
So prices in your mind, are we at a level where we can continue to be competitive from a global standpoint? Because we have seen some flash sales.
Yeah, on the soybean side, I know we're getting quite a few flash sales through, getting some business. We are way behind on what we need to be as far as the pace goes. But the USDA has cut that by 155 million bushels already. I know I'm another 100 million lower than that on my export pace. So I'm down around 1725. But I'm using a smaller yield number than the USDA. I'm down at 48.8 for my yield. I think the bean yield is going to come down as we get more into harvest here. Just a lot of problems with this late season fill. So if we find that bean yield comes down, I think we'll have legs to go higher here for sure.
Yeah, and the yield debate rages in the corn as well. Where do you think we are in the corn market for yield, and what are we trading right now?
I think we're trading still above 170. I don't think we're trading anything sub 170, probably 172 to 175. There's a lot of doubting Thomases out here thinking that we haven't really hurt the yield because of the weather last week, but also the weather forecast as we finish over the next couple of weeks. But if you drive around the country, talk to farmers, a lot of this corn is really changing and transforming before our eyes. And a lot of it's matured without maturing correctly. In other words, it died a week or 2 or 3 early. And that's made for lighter test weights and smaller kernels. So I think we have lower to go on the yields.
And corn, is it basically being held up by the soybean market at this point?
I think that's right, Michelle. It's there's corn demand on its own. Nothing's that great on the demand side, and we have to have a much smaller crop to have a story in corn. And so soybeans is the leader, corn is second, wheat is the lagger.
So we've been rejecting that $5 area from a technical standpoint. What in your mind, as far as a yield, would we have to see to get over that mark?
I think, if harvesters get in the field and we find out that these yields are disappointing, that the crop didn't finish properly, we have light test weight, we have shorter kernel depth, and then the yields are actually under 170, I think that would spook some of the funds. If you look at their short position and what they put on here, a lot of it's been below 508, 510 area. And so they build a short position, really don't have a lot of money in their pocket yet. And so if we start coming back through those areas, I think they'll get quite nervous on any closing basis above 5, but particularly above 507.
Yeah, I think the funds are short maybe over 100,000 contracts.
Yes.
And so obviously getting them out of those shorts should produce a pretty good rally. The other problem, besides exports being slow in corn, is just that the wheat market has been pulling it down, right?
Yeah, that's correct. The wheat market, no matter how bullish of fundamental news you get, or prices going up in Russia on their floor price, or Black Sea firming, we just can't see to get any traction here in the U.S. and our markets. And so even Minneapolis wheat, we know that the Stats Canada came out. That was overall supportive. We know the Minneapolis wheat crop, spring wheat, is down here. You would think that would be the leader in the clubhouse as we move toward the end of the year in all classes, but even it is making new lows. So as you look at wheat, we need to get a bottom in place. We don't have it yet, but if we start seeing some firmness in wheat, then I think corn will have a much easier time popping up above that 507 area.
Yeah. Even though Chicago wheat, you don't think technically we put in a double bottom here on the charts?
It's possible. We just don't have enough price confirming action. We did hold this 599 and a half level. That's good.
Yeah.
But I got to see a lot more tomorrow into the end of the week. I'd love to see it close over 623 versus D Chicago. And more importantly, 646 or above there to end the week. That would be sweet if that could happen.
Well, we talk about demand problems in the corn, but that's really the problem here for the wheat market, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just got demand problems all over the place, and China's economy is soft and sputtering along, and our relationship's not the greatest with them, and so that leads to problems on our export and demand side. But we have good domestic demand for our products. Obviously, biofuels, renewable diesel, and ethanol have some margins, and so domestic demand remains strong with livestock feeding as well. But we really need to see that export market come along or crunch the supply side to get this more interesting.
Yeah. So you mentioned China and their economy. Nice segue here into the cotton market, which is higher on the close today. But you've got China, poor economic news coming out versus tight balance sheets. What wins out in that cotton market?
Well, I think shorter term, it's probably the supply crunch. We'll have to see if we get more downgrades on the production. Had a big drop here in the August WASDE, as everyone knows. I think we'll lose some more acres to abandonment. The west area of Texas just got hammered by drought, and the drought monitor's intensifying in that area, in the New Mexico, Oklahoma area as well. And so if we see a more of a supply crunch, I think you'll trade that. But in the end, it comes back to demand, and we'll have to see how that evens out here as we move into fall. But right now, I think it's the supply side that would drive cotton higher.
So cattle market set back here today and triple digit losses in parts of the complex, even though we had lower corn. So is this end of the month profit taking in an otherwise bigger bull market, or is there something else going on?
No, it's probably what you said there. I mean, we'd have to be down $4 to $6 in a very decisive way to know that we scored a top, and we just haven't done that. We're trading sideways in feeders and in cattle. We're leaning to the downside here as far as our firm goes, but it hasn't proven it can go down. And the longer it doesn't confirm that, it really bodes and kind of lobbies for a higher market yet. That we haven't made a top, we got to move higher again. And so as the beef has bottomed and we haven't seen the consumer back away here domestically, we know numbers are super, super tight. We could see higher prices yet to come here this fall.
Yeah. Hogs back to the plus side today. Is that some end of the month short covering? Because otherwise that market is pretty hard to figure out, isn't it?
Yeah, I have no clue. I was just telling my market advisor I'm frustrated with hogs.
Right
Fundamentals,
along.
yeah, fundamentals don't look that great. I know we have some steep discounts to the cash here as you look at the deferred contracts, and I know up front here we're starting to come together. But I'm bearish hogs, but they just don't go down. They move lower and then they spring right back. So not sure what's going on there, but the cutout took a hard hit earlier in the week, and really that hasn't made the futures fall through the downside. So I'm a little lost on hogs right now.
Well, you aren't alone. And that cutout value, while the bellies have been so volatile, and I think that's part of what the story there. So I guess we'll keep watching that. Thanks for joining us here in Frye Water
Thank
Street
you.
Solutions. That is Markets Now.